Good. Did she tell you about working in base camp on?
All right. We ready to get started?
Oh, okay.
I'm offended that when we send out that says Russ is teaching base camp, that this many people aren't here. But I guess get over it, right? So. All right, so George is on his way. He's not quite here yet, but we'll take care of some house cleaning things first. So, we got Citywide and Vanguard this here. Do you? Who wants to go first?
I will go first.
Jen? All right, come on.
What a crowd, you guys. This is exciting. Okay, I have a quick activity for you. Take out your notebooks, take out your phones, get in your notes section. I want you to write down your top 5 biggest fears. Your top 5. It can be anything. It can be the fear of spiders. It can be the fear of
boogers.
Boogers. Yes. The fear of achieving, the fear of ghosts, the fear of clowns. Any of you seen it this last year? The fear of public speaking, the fear of prospecting. Your 5 biggest fears. Okay, however many you have, I want you to now rate them. Like number 1 being the worst, your biggest fear, and then go on through your list. From worst to least. So really think about them. You know, they probably have some personal meanings. Something maybe tragic has happened and now you're like woke up with a spider on your face or something, or, you know, really rate them. Okay, you guys good? Now, here is a fact for you. You are only born with 2 fears. Only born with 2 fears. The fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. So now look over your list. And I want you to cross off everything that you didn't write down, that wasn't the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. Cross everything off your list. Anyone have those 2 fears on their list? You do, Joe?
I have falling on my list.
Really? Okay, that's a legit fear. Legit.
It's not so much falling, it's hitting the ground.
A sudden stop.
Yes.
Okay, so you guys, look at your list and look over them. You're only born with those 2 fears. All of those fears that are on your list are made by you. You are the ones who created those fears. No matter what happened, whether it was an event when you were younger, something you've made up, it's not a legit fear, and it's man-made by you. So just know as you kind of go through this year, making goals, you know, really look at them and see, can it be bigger? What are you fearful about? What's really holding you back to going to that next level?
Well, that's nice.
Okay, there's a little idea for you guys to do. I am from Citywide. We're just over across the lobby, just to let you know, and come over if you have any questions. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, Jen.
Add hair and food to that list for me.
Hair and food?
And children.
Yeah.
Okay, Happy New Year, everyone. I'm Mackenzie. I'm in Vanguard title. We're up on the 4th floor, and this is Lisa over here. She's one of our awesome escrow officers. And for today's tip, I wanted to share a little article that NAR posted on the 17th of December. And this is about millennials and what kind of communities they're liking to live in. But also, I'm going to read you a couple statistics that were posted from this survey that they did. And what they did is they interviewed 3,000 Americans living in 50 of the most populated metropolitan areas. And so here's a little statistic. 62% of millennials and 55% of the silent generation, which is people born before 1944, prefer walkable communities and short commutes, even if it means living in an apartment or townhouse. Gen Xers and baby boomers still show a strong preference towards suburban living, with 55% of both groups saying that they have no problem with a longer commute and driving to amenities if it means living in a single family detached home. So, and here's another one. These statistics should just help you when you're working with buyers, help them know where statistically they would probably like to live. Another one is, so this is a little bit different for children. However, responders with school-aged kids in the home, regardless of their generation, show a greater preference for conventional suburban communities. 60% of all responders with kids in school said they prefer larger homes with yards that require driving, and that number jumps to 63% with millennials for kids in school. Yeah, so there's a little fun fact for you guys, just when you're helping millennials or just people of all generations. If you have any questions about title, just come up on the 4th floor and we'll help you out.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks.
So, cleaning or household items here. We've been talking, actually, Aaron actually brought it up to me, and I think it's a great idea. It's a new year. Let's kind of muck out where we're at. Let's throw away things that don't belong. If there's broken chairs, let's get them out of here. If there's garbage lying around that you're not going to be using, get it out of here. Let's kind of clean up our nest a little bit.
You break a chair, don't just move it to the side.
Right. Yeah, let's get it out of here. I think it's just.
What are you trying to say?
Yeah. What are you really trying to say? It's just, being the new year is a great thing to be doing. So, and I apologize, I was supposed to have the new book here on the board. I didn't get a chance, so we'll get that to you here shortly also. And then Summit, obviously January 9th. Let's make sure you guys make it to that. But mainly, let's clean up our space. So,
I think it's fanatical prospecting.
fanatical prospecting is what it is? Okay, cool. That'd be awesome if it is. So, okay.
Do we have
Happy
somewhere
New
for
Year.
the junk?
Thanks for being here. Say that again.
Do we have somewhere we can put all the extra junk?
You know, that's a good question. Let us ask the building people where we can kind of stack it, and they can get rid of it. So that'd be a good thing to be doing. Matter of fact, I'll run out and have the front desk start working on that. So, meantime, Russ is going to visit with you on vacation things.
Well, so
It really is your base camp.
I know, yeah, see, I've tricked you guys, no. So, no, supposedly he'll be here in 3 minutes, but we'll see. So,
6, yeah, that's 6 or 10.
I know, exactly.
Pushing 10.
I know, initially it was he would be here at 11:40, then it was 11:45, so we'll
Yeah, we
see.
can translate.
But actually, just couple other things to hit on with you before George does get here. So, next week, obviously no base camp because of Summit. We've got Summit next Tuesday. But then the week after that, so 2 weeks from today, I've got a guy that actually Nick, I think, had recommended. John Edwards, is that his name?
Yeah.
Do you want to? Nick had him go down to Orem and talk a little bit about what he's a CPA and I don't know a ton more about him, but
Yeah,
he's gonna
tax
come in and talk about
strategist. He called me. I had him in. He did a handful of taxes for agents in my office in Orem, did a super good job. He did mine for the first time last year. I think the difference between the other CPA and him, he saved me, I think it's about $3,000. So from who I was using.
So yeah, so that's 2 weeks from today. He will be here to do the base camp to talk about some of the strategies and things that you can use to help with your taxes and things. So
yeah, he's really good.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, Rob, anything from compliance to
Sure.
talk
As
about?
a reminder, the old rep sheet is no longer able to be used. It's still on the MLS, but do not use the old rep sheet. And a couple of key things that, at least dealing with the new rep sheet, you may not be aware of. Under the utility section, where the new contract, I'm pretty sure it's stating as of the settlement deadline, the buyer is responsible for the utilities. So just, if you had a 4-day time frame until you recorded, the bigger issue is where agents you represent the seller and you're having the seller rent back the property, but you don't use the short-term rent back agreement. You just have them stay in the property for an extra week. Well, in the past, the seller would typically continue to pay those utilities. But the new REPC actually says the buyer is gonna be required for that. So just be mindful, if you're gonna be having the seller stay in the property, you might wanna make sure that the seller also pays the utilities during that time while they're there. So.
Cool.
And then one more thing would be dealing with canceling off of the new contract. If you remember, the new contract under 8.3 talks about potentially a portion of the earnest money going back to the seller if you cancel after the due diligence deadline. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Hope that's not new information. The question at hand, though, the contract leaves a little bit of an open window where if you cancel the contract based on the due diligence deadline, however, if you cancel the contract before the due diligence deadline, and we had this actually happen, however, the buyer actually canceled because of financing. So make sure you understand that. Due diligence deadline, let's just say, is January 10th, and the financing deadline is January 20th. Well, they cancel on January 5th, before the due diligence deadline, but they canceled because they couldn't get financing. They lost their job or whatever it was. So they checked on the cancellation reason based on financing. Well, with a new contract, there is questionable language that would imply that that money, that extra, that half the earnest money, whatever, could go to the seller. So they're in the process of changing the cancellation form to eliminate this, but what I would suggest that you do, if you are canceling before the due diligence deadline, I don't care the reason, cancel based on due diligence. If you are canceling before the due diligence deadline to avoid this discrepancy, just state that you're canceling based on due diligence.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Rob. So George said he'd be here at 11:45, and he was standing out there at 11:44. So come on up.
But I want to know how many times did Rob say the word house effort? Sometimes he just said house effort. Hey.
However.
Well, so good to be with you guys. I got your text. I will text you back, I promise. All right, good to be with you guys. Wow, full house. Did they announce there was a guest speaker? Because that's what they used to say. Dale, that's what they used to say. My gosh, even the back row is full. I'm impressed. All right, good. Well, hopefully I'll have to say something. Hopefully that I even got Mr. Harvey in the room. In fact, I'll have you take over. You're the tallest guy in the room, aren't you? I think you're probably the tallest guy in here, aren't you? All right, cool. I'm just checking. I'm just making sure. Even Jen's here. What do you mean?
I'm just trying to get a hold of you. I don't even have
So cool. All right, we'll get started. I won't pick on anybody else. I'm just trying to look around the room and know my audience. I'm sure. Hey, Tammy, good to see you. I look at your master's. I have her towel from the master's. She lets me hold it in good safekeeping. So I haven't taken it out on a course yet. So, all right. Well, if you haven't figured out, it's the new year. So welcome to 2018. Great to be with you guys. And thank you for being here and spending some time. Next week, I think it's probably already announced, we've got the summit happening. And so we should have a great few weeks to the start of the new year. If you didn't know, I just want to do a little housekeeping so that you guys know just very quickly. In fact, this isn't even running yet, right?
No.
Good. That's perfect. So just real quick, what I wanted to say is this, is that if you didn't know, I think probably to Rick and others' hope and at least I relieve their duties once in a while, and Russ's and Lindsay's in Union Park. I'm here about 75% of the time, so I'm just wondering where you guys are. So from that standpoint, Taylor and Aaron specifically, but I only say that from the standpoint that people say, oh wait, it's you're not there. I'm like, man, I think we're going on nearly 4 months now of, if there's meetings that you liked or things that we evolved in, and just so you have a perspective of just Utah and California, as a general statement, I spend 75-80% of my time on the Utah side, and John is, if you didn't know, is spending 75-80% of his time on California. So I I like the fact that I'm talking to the group, at least showed up who for me, and if you were thinking it was going to be John, I apologize at this point. But you'll see him, but you just won't see him as much. So, and maybe not anything different than what you've already experienced, but just know that whether it be the meetings or whatever it is we're doing, we're trying to get, if you would say, back to some of the very things that, that we've built the company around. So I hope that you'll feel very welcome, and I'm not here to hammer you except Aaron Pearson on his beard. Other than that, I will not pick on anybody, Andrew, who has like massive facial hair now. So it's a cool thing. It's facial hair, chase, and tattoos. That's the new thing, right? So I actually wrote on a goal sheet, and now we'll get into what we're going to talk about goals. So we did this little family goal setting thing. And I turned it over and I had on there, get a tattoo this year. And everyone was like, what? And I'm all, yeah, why not? So I'm halfway serious, Justin. I don't know. I didn't erase it, right? So
I'll go with you.
Yeah, exactly. You can.
Nick will.
But he will. He's already got one set. So, all right. So with that, let's get started. So I want to talk to you a little bit about this, and it's one of the things that, out of tradition, for many, many years I've talked about, and it is simply, what did I learn in 2017? And of course, what I'm hoping is that as I'm speaking and sharing some of the things I share with you, that they would be the very things that I hope that will help you. Last night is an interesting night because I got a text about an individual who I have a great care and concern and has been a real anchor, if you would say, in my life over the years. And the text was about the fact that this person was having challenges and was going to be in the hospital. And I thought, this is such an interesting business, and we live in such an interesting life that and I know many of you have heard me talk about this, but the one thing that became evident for me was the fact that more than 50% of the people that you will ever meet are going through some of the most difficult times of their life. And I just was reminded again last night of going, I had just seen this person and everything looked great. And when I say just saw them, it was no more than a few hours that I had just seen them. And I say that from the standpoint, and now here's this person in a hospital having some of the most challenging moments of their life. And so I bring that up, and I hope that as you move through your life, that you take a step back and you recognize that we are in the worst business known to mankind, that we have to always make things look like we are doing 100% okay, and that life is extraordinary. I mean, your health is what it is, your relationships are just beaming in glory and awesomeness, and that your health and your money and everything is just perfect. And so we have to somehow, in this business of sales, appear that all is simply well and that we're doing great. And yet, I know so many of you in here, and I could pick on you and say, hey, tell your story. And people would be like, what? They would. They'd be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were dealing with that. And that's the truth. That's what would happen. So, one, I would just say this. Be compassionate. Have the ability to show empathy to people as they go through some of the most difficult moments and times of their life, because you will be right more than 50% of the time. I've said 50 this year. I said a few times. I said I wouldn't be surprised if it was nearly 60 to 70% of the people you meet. So with that, I want you to think about something. All the people you talk to, all the people you call, all the people that communicate with you, all the potential clients, all the calls that you make, all the prospecting you do, that somehow we think, right, that we might know the world that they're coming from and the world that they're living in. But in reality, we probably have no clue. So the moment that they may be angry, frustrated, they may want to hang up on you or do actually hang up on you, the fact you have to ask yourself is really what is happening for them. If 1 out of 2 people you talk to are going through the most difficult moments of their life, that means that if you talk to 30 people today on a phone, half of them, are having some of the biggest challenges of their life. So I hope that one of the great traits that I would challenge you to take on in leadership is your ability to show empathy, concern, compassion, love, appreciation, understanding to other people around you. And you may say, well, wait, that's common sense. That's just what I do. I would say yes, but the question is that we hide our lives so well. Right? I mean, if I had you by a show of hands and I said, hey, who of you are going through a really hard time, maybe the most difficult time, I know there'd be people here to raise their hand. And and many of you would look and go, what? What could possibly be wrong for you? You got a new car, you're wearing a nice suit, you're doing, but the reality is that something is probably going on. So just remember that as you go through your year, right? As you go through this year. The second thing I want to talk about was vision. You know, one of the things that's interesting to me in this business that we live in is I was asked this question today. They said, how do you motivate people? How do you get people to see what's possible? And I thought it was an awesome question because it's one that I actually, interestingly enough, have given tremendous thought to. Like I have looked things up on it, I've read about it, I've had my own personal experiences about it. That the hope is that when you guys walk out of this room today, that you're engaged and you're excited to do more than you were just doing, right? That not only did you hopefully have a great year last year, but this year, boy, you haven't seen nothing yet because of how great it's going to be. So think about vision, right? How do you cast the vision to other people and other individuals? When you think about that, how do you cast the vision of action to your children, to your friends, to those you associate with, to those that you talk to, and even your clients? How do you share that vision so that action is actually taken? What would you say? What do you have to do to make that happen? Thanks for volunteering. Aaron, how would you make that happen?
I'm Randolph Down. I have no.
How do you help people take action, right? Right? Because we talk about, gosh, change. We can change our beliefs. We can change our thoughts. We can change our emotions. But how do we get people to act? No, you can't save him yet. She's trying to save you up here. Nick's trying to save you. I want an answer, right? An answer. What would you say?
Their emotions, I guess.
Pardon?
Connecting to their emotions.
Okay, connect to their emotions. What else?
Lead by example.
Okay, lead by example. I love that one.
Yeah.
It's a very high-pitched voice for you. Did you say that? Just kidding. Okay, lead by example, right? So, Nick, Lindsay, what were you guys going to say?
Well, it's just your topic of vision, right? So you have to help them cast a vision.
It's what?
They have to have a vision or a purpose. You have to help them cast a vision.
Okay. Okay. We're going to build on that for a second. Anything else?
Understand what's important.
Understand what's important to them?
Yeah, just saying what Nick says, getting them to cast their vision and understanding what their dreams and their goals are. And then I think, one of the things that I've learned from you that has been one of my things that I've loved is our ability to confront them. You've always said a true friend confronts you when you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
Good.
What you want.
It's good. That's right. In that video that Jennifer did, she talked about if Sam Bell said he said, if I love you, I confront you. I think he might have been mocking me just a little bit, but it is true.
Help them understand their why.
Yes. Okay. Love it.
I was going to say be vulnerable with them, because nobody will open to you.
These are all great answers. None of them are wrong. I have one answer I'm looking for, but these are all great answers.
Yeah, nobody will be vulnerable with you and help you understand their vision if you're not vulnerable with them first.
Okay, I like that.
Let them know their expectations.
How did you figure that out?
That's how I remember our talk. It just took me a second. Listen to all this.
It is? Okay, hold on. We've got here Justin. We're going to build on that and what Nick and Lindsay were saying too. These are all great answers. Of course, by example and all these great things. But
I was going to say invite them to take action.
Okay, so challenge them, like a call to action?
Yeah.
I totally agree. I love that. So let me ask you this. This is the easiest answer yet. When was the last time you sat with someone, a client, and let's even get real personal here. How many of you in this room have children or people that you have a massive influence to that is a child? Perfect. Okay? Love it. You didn't raise your hand. You're with my sons all the time. This is my son-in-law, Dylan. Jennifer. Have you met Dylan?
I have now.
Okay. Well, her son plays baseball, River. So he's going to play at Brighton, though, right? Okay. All right. So, by the way, Sherry, good to see you. All right. See, I'm pick on anybody else in here. Oh, this is good. All right. Making sure I'm seeing anybody hanging out there that we should be picking on. All right. Okay. I'm going to phrase it just a little bit different. But when's the last time you said these things? I can see, I can imagine, I can picture this. I just want you to think about that. When was the last time you took your son or your daughter or someone you have tremendous influence on and said, let me share with you what I see. This is what I see. Years ago, I would be driving down the freeway and I would have Isaac yelling, I will play in the Pac-12. I would tell him, close your eyes and see what I see. Can you see it? And he would say, yes. So what's interesting is now there's just triggers with him, and he does, let's just make sure we're clear, this kid does so many things wrong. So, but he's pretty good at baseball, just for the record, right? And he is like at the total pain in the butt stage of life, like throw him through a wall type of, like, just to be honest. Okay? Like my daughter is echoing the truth of this. But he's got this one thing figured out. That is that I can trigger him by just simply saying, what do you see? Right? Did you visualize when you're at the plate? What do you see? Right? Swinging the bat. And the only thing I want to bring up to you is that the one thing I know I have reiterated in my life again is that you get exactly what you see. But your job as a leader is to help someone see what's possible. So when we talk about clients, and we talk about children, and we talk about our families and our friends and others, I just would challenge you to just see it. Like, do you really see what's possible for them and for yourself? And let's just take real basic things for a client. When was the last time, you raise your hands, but I just want you to think, when was the last time you took a client and said, can you see yourself in this home? Let me share with you what I see when this home is sold, and you start painting, like you guys talked about, painting the picture of what's possible. Here's the point. When people see what's possible and they see vision and they see possibility, they take action. That is a fact. So if you can't cast the vision, if you can't help them see it, if you can't help them see what is possible, it is unlikely they will ever take any action towards it. And there's lots of things we could talk about in relationship to vision, right? We talk about, how we chart it, how we focus on it, how we see it. But just in general terms, I would just challenge you to remind you of this. And that is that you're going to get exactly what you see. And your people around you, your clients, your family, your kids, your spouse, your lover, your partner, whatever, whoever, I'm trying to name your friends, like you're associated with right now, all of them, it doesn't matter. All of them will meet the expectations that almost always that you set. If I look at people who have teams in here, I look at someone like Phil, like at Alma, the reality is most of us will always meet the expectations of the team member. So what do you expect? That's how you drive action. That's how you get what you want. Does that make sense? For me, that's how, again, hey, you may see it differently. I'm not here to pile drive you with a philosophy. I just know that when I cast a vision for myself, for others, and the vision, and by the way, some of you are team leaders, is that the vision is big enough for everyone to be included in it, that everyone gets excited. People always ask, well, how do you have people around you? Like, how do you have people, some people have been here for so long? Because the vision has to be big enough to include all of them. Those of you who are thinking about building a team, first start with the vision of how big it can actually be. And if it can include you and many others, what you will find is that people will gather to be by your side. That is what will happen through that process. Okay? Any thoughts, questions, comments, observations? John?
You mentioned that you're listening to Earl Nightingale's Stranger's Secret.
Right, every day, Stranger's Secret, Earl Nightingale.
He talks in there about how you're going to get what you sow. If it's corn, you get corn. If it's nightshade. So, your expectations are the seed.
Right. You're going to plant either the nightshade or the flower right into the garden, and whichever one it is, it's actually, no matter what, if you plant it and that's what you, grow, or that's what will grow, no matter which one. No matter if you give it energy, give it fuel, right?
If we don't do it on purpose, we just
Yeah.
but our expectations are disagreeable.
Yeah, love that. Okay, any other thoughts, comments? Okay, so let's switch gears just a little bit. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to think about your mindset for 2017. Did it carry you through powerfully and strong through the year? Was your mindset so strong that you believed all the way through the year what your outcomes were going to be? Was your mindset strong enough that you sat there and said, you know what, this is going to work, I know it's going to happen? Your beliefs were so strong, you almost never doubted, right? That's the place that I want you to be. And so the thing that you have to ask yourself is this: how do I create a stronger mindset, a belief system within myself so that it will carry me into the right thoughts, the right actions, and the right results of your life? How will you do that? How will you create the mindset that is necessary? Now, I don't want to go into everything that I would echo out on mindset, but I just want to point out just a couple of things. And here's the first one. What is the story that you tell yourself? I want you to think about that. What is the story that you tell yourself? Years ago, I remember someone asked me and another friend to do something. One of the people in that group, which was me, said, yes, I'll do it. And what it was a trip to go on. And it was a year out. And it was going to cost a lot of money. The other person standing next to me said, no, I can't do that. And I turned and I said, why? Well, because I don't have the money. I said, that's a year from now. Yeah, no, I don't. I can't see that. I don't know where that money will come from. And for some reason on that moment, at that time, for me, not going to any training, not going to someone telling me, not hearing something from someone, it was just at that moment that I realized that the story that I tell myself will be the quality of my life. That everything I want or everything I don't want, whatever story I choose to tell myself, is what will become my reality. If I believe I don't have enough money, that will become my story. And look, gang, this year, again, I'm changing my own story. Not only this year, but even from last year. But you have to be conscious and you have to be aware of what's the story you tell yourself. So let me give you some examples. Yeah, I don't like for sale by owners. None of them really list. They're all selling themselves. All? Come on. Yeah, I don't like expireds because the ones that didn't sell were overpriced anyway. It's just too combative. I hate listings. Oh, I love buyers. I love listings. I hate buyers. Where do all these stories come from? Oh, I don't like listings because it's just so much pressure for me because, if the price isn't right and the home doesn't sell, what am I going to do? And what if they don't like me? Just a story. Yeah, I don't like calling people at 8 in the morning. It's just too early. Who came up with that story? Yeah, I don't like knocking doors in the evening. I wouldn't want my door knocked on. Who came up with that story? I'm just here to tell you that I could go through your life and you can go through mine and you will find stories that empower you or you will find stories that completely disempower you. And so my point this year is that you craft, that you shape a story that feeds you, that gives you the results that you want your life to be. It is amazing the amount of limitations that we will each put upon our lives of what is possible and not possible. I get so bothered, like the acronym SMART. Do you know what number R stands for? Does anybody know in that little acronym SMART, specific goal? Realistic. That is the most offensive word to goal setting that I know to mankind. It absolutely drives me bonkers to say, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's set something that's realistic. Do you talk about anybody? Oh man, I love them. They're so great. I respect them so much. They're so realistic. No, that is not who you sit back in life and go, wow. You look at someone like a Steve Jobs, who of course has passed away, and go, man, how unrealistic this guy was. The guy like a Bill Gates who dropped out of Harvard. Who drops out of Harvard? and goes and starts a little computer company known as Microsoft, there was nothing realistic. That would be almost plain out stupid, is what most people would have said back then. I'm sure they did. Thought he had lost his mind. So again, those are just two examples, and all the many examples you can think of is that I would just challenge you to ask yourself, are you being way too realistic? Is your story that you've sold yourself on all about being realistic, all about being, let's stay safe and conservative, let's make sure that we don't really push ourselves, drive our lives towards something, we have to save all of our energy for what? I never know what you're trying to save it for. Like, want to pace yourselves, don't want to get burned out. What stories do we tell ourselves? Like the stories of, can you have lots of money but still have a great family? Can you have lots of success but still be healthy? Can you have lots of success and still have a life? It's just a story that you choose to tell yourself. How many times will you accept the story of how many times you get to say no to one of your children? Nope. And let's just finish the sentence. We can't afford that. And I'm not here to tell you that I haven't been in those moments. I'm just here to tell you that you have to be able and be willing to change the story. Because your story is nothing but a story. You could change your story right now and say, you know what? I am a luxury home expert. Right now, new story. The new story could be, I sell 50 plus homes a year with ease. Instead of 50 homes, that's going to be a real push for me. That's going to be tough. I mean, I'm really like my big goal, my stretch goal. What the freak is a stretch goal? I love when people come to me. My stretch goal is, what's your goal? What story do you tell yourself? Right? I want you to think about like what you're saying as you're going through the story of your life. Again, I have lots of bad stories. And I have lots of stories I've told myself for years that make no sense. If I told you, you'd be like, what? It'd be like last week when my daughter said, if anyone saw how obnoxious you are, no one would even follow you. True story. That was not you. Was that you?
No.
That was Ashley. Sorry, it's Ashley. She said, I can't believe you're a CEO. Like, she's like, I was just like, I often do, the Dumb and Dumber thing where he says, have you ever heard the most annoying, you want to hear the most annoying, have you ever heard the most annoying sound or something like that? And I'm just like, wah! And then she's like, you are so annoying. So my point is that, look, every story you tell yourself, I'm just challenging you to just challenge it. If it empowers you, if it's a story that is like, yes, it makes sense, then do it. It's the reason, gang, why I say things like, I can do more and handle more, because the story I used to tell myself was what? Oh, you can't do anymore. You're really at the top. Put one more thing on your plate. I don't know what you'd do. And I'm like, that is ridiculous. Why can't I do more and handle more? And I am unstoppable. And so a new, just message of a story came into my head, which was, you know what? I can do more. I can handle more. I am unstoppable. Am I unstoppable? I don't know, but it's a better story than I better stop. I don't know. I don't want to push myself too hard. I don't want to overburden my life. I don't know. It's a better story, right? It just is. I used to say, I hate prospecting for sub-owners. I feel so uncomfortable. People say, come on, you never... all it is, I just shifted the story. I love prospecting. I set appointments, and I used to hit my chest every time I get on a phone. I set appointments. Every time. Instead of, I hope I set an appointment today. Oh, I'm so nervous. Oh, what if they hang up? And then we do that. I'll call for sale owners here today or this week. And then all of a sudden, I don't really like them. I'll call expireds. I didn't really like them. Okay, I'm going to door knock FSBOs. I don't like that. It's too cold. Okay, now I got to door knock. I'll door knock in the spring when it's better weather. My favorite example of all of this, by the way, is when we went. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Why are you guys not door knocking? On Tuesday, you'll see Tina Hare. She's either the number 1 or number 2 agent in the country. She door knocks 1 to 2 hours a day. She door knocks $800 million homes every day. There's nothing magical about it. You're going to meet her. If you met her and go, well, that was she seems really normal. Yeah. But she does abnormal things with her consistency, which creates extraordinary results. She made over $2 million knocking doors, talking to her sphere. That is better than most of us combined in this room, just for the record. And I'm not trying as a criticism, it's just a story that she has a story that door knocking is awesome. She has a story that says, you know what? If I call my sphere and keep building it and building it, it'll be this army on my side for years. And it will create a legacy for my family that I'll pass on to. That's a different story. So again, I know I'm beating this one, but man, just question the stories that you're telling yourself. And if they're true and you love them, then keep telling yourself that story. But if they're not true and they don't serve you, and they don't put you in a beautiful state or an incredible place in life, then change the story. Right? You know, many of you know this, but I've said this at the summit, so I just want to say this, but I love the fact of Jennifer in this situation. And that is, maybe you don't know this, but most of you know it, but her mother committed suicide when she was 5. So she could have a story that says, my mom hated me, and so I'm never going to become anything. Or on the flip side, she can say, well, wait, that will serve me well from the standpoint of I know my mother was sick, and I'm going to be the complete opposite of that. And so then Mackenzie's first Christmas, and I'm not exaggerating, had like 500 gifts because she was going to go overload on being super mom. Right? But my point is that you can control whatever story. Look, how many of you had, maybe not that extreme, but how many of you have had some pretty bad things happen to you? I don't think there's anybody in here who hasn't had something pretty bad happen. The question is again, what's the story you tell yourself after it happens? That is entirely your control. You can talk about relationships, you can talk about what your health is, you can talk about the business, you can talk about the market, you can talk about anything. And I'm telling you that you have control of the story. So control it and let it be powerful. Let it empower you to greatness and possibility. Let it be something that drives your life towards everything you want it to be. There's not one of you that can't have that. It's not immune. It's not a special prize for the person who comes up with the best story. We can all have the best story. Every one of us can have the best story because it's your story and you get to write it. Now that I'm all worked up and sweaty about that, let's switch subjects. Any thoughts to that? Any questions? Okay. Number 4. I actually have a list. Now, Chase, I only have 5 things, so hopefully you got the first 3.
What was the first 3? What was the first 2?
Vision. Oh, the first one was about everybody you meet, compassion and empathy. Number 2 is the vision. Number 3 is the story. You ready for number 4? And really, I'm just talking about what I've learned. So look, this is just me speaking from the heart. That's it. I'm not, obviously you know, I'm not sitting here scripted on anything. I'm just sitting here speaking from the standpoint of what I learned in 2017 that really matters to me. All right? And at the same time, I think I can help maybe share, some light on it. As you know, last year, the November summit, does anybody remember what I spoke about? Perfect. That is awesome. Leadership. It's always about leadership, right? I still remember I was coaching someone and they slammed their coaching or journal on the table and they went, "I'm done listening to you about leadership." And I'm all there like, "Oh, it's all you talk about." Well, because that's all that it's about. Leading yourself, leading your life, leading others. I mean, how can you say it's about anything else? But here's number 4, since good, I can just tell you I can just give you the whole summit again, Russ. Work ethic. Why I became so passionate at the last summit, and I even got people even today telling me like, "Man, that was hell, fire, and brimstone." Who was at that summit? Is that all you remember about it? Was I a little more passionate than normal? Let me tell you who I was talking to. I said this today in Orem. Let me tell you who I was talking to. I was talking to myself about my own personal work ethic. What you can find from me, here's just a little, like, if you want to know me at all, is if I'm talking about something that's really passionate about, it means I'm talking to myself. It could be considered like crazy, but it's the reality. People always ask me, "How'd you pick that subject?" What? Oh, you have a tissue for me? Sure, I'll take a tissue. I'm white hot up here. What are the lights? So what I was upset about was the fact of how I was working, how I was applying my effort in my life. I was realizing, does anybody do this? Did anybody try to like plan your escape from work? Like you're like trying to like, okay, now what can I like give as all the reasons why I don't have to work hard today? Like why I have to get away, why I have to try to do something different, why I want to plan this trip. And they're not even vacations, they're escapes. And people say escapes, and I'm like, I get that they're an escape, but from what? What are you trying to escape from? And what I realized back in 2017 was that I have to embrace and be totally okay with working hard. There's a lot of agents that I meet that go, well, you know, I really pushed it for a long time, for those few years, and got myself to a certain point, and then I was able to take it easy. I can realize, I can accept that as a reality for a lot of people, and what I found myself doing is in that same mode of not working hard enough. So for me in 2017 versus what will be in 2018 is a whole different work ethic. And for me, I've recognized that if I really want to achieve the things I want out of my life, I have to push myself to work harder than I ever have in my entire life. If I really want to do things that seem so unrealistic and like can't, like everyone's like, oh, you can't, then I have to work to do that. Right, Taylor? All the haters, Aaron, tell me I can't do single digit body fat. Bring it on. I'm all for that. You know what?
It's on Facebook now.
I know it's on Facebook. It's perfect. All right? I'm just saying, all the people who say it's not realistic, and on who's accord. By the way, yesterday now we have to have this conversation. Sorry. I just had a conversation with a trainer at Voss, and he said, it's totally realistic. And he said, is that a problem? Is it Voss trainer? Oh, okay. And he said, absolutely. And he gave me his plan. How can you deny me of that? Right? Huh?
He wasn't even a trainer.
Right.
Google Dr. John McDougall.
Okay. Were you going to say something?
Look at all these people that don't believe you.
I know. He doesn't believe. He's like, well, and that's what all these people followed up with, by the way. I'm not saying I don't want you to do it. It sounds great. I mean, man, that's great. I mean, if you do it, all the more power to you. Does that sound familiar? All I'm saying is that work ethic is key to your success. So just look, how hard do you work at your prospecting? How hard do you work at your health? How hard do you work at your presentations? How hard do you work in this business? Look, real estate is one of those deals that you can look like a superstar with low effort and low energy, low effort. You can say, well, you can make a living. Maybe not a fortune, but you can make a living. But what I've observed that the people who have the most energy are the people who earn the most. I can take people like Phil and Amy and Brian and others, and I know I'm missing people in here, but I'm just saying there's everybody. I mean, those who earn the most money are the people who seem to have the most energy and who seem to work the hardest. So I just would challenge you that what I am challenging myself with, which is to not look for every way in which I don't have to work, but don't look and like make my plan that I'm going to have to do everything I can to not work. Make a plan to say how much harder can you work? How much more effort can you give? Right? You still knocking doors, Lou? How many homes did you sell in essentially your first full year of business?
48.
48? Last year you sold how many?
80. I think 80. If we close
80, that's fine, close enough. And this year you'll close how many?
200.
Okay. Now how many of you said, well, I mean, I wouldn't want to work that hard. I'm telling you, it's a story. Right? Do you think it's going to take a lot of work?
Yeah, I have to work harder this year.
Interesting. And Belladonna, you think you know her pretty well. You work right next to her office. Does she work hard?
Her team's here every Saturday, Sunday, most days.
Yeah.
I know because I'm working there and she's they're always there.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not saying, look, I don't know what your schedule has to be. I'm not here to pick on your personal priorities. I'm not here to pick on your values of your life. I'm not here to say, but I just want you to listen to what you say when you hear things like that. When you hear the work ethic that's necessary, the time that is necessary to become more, to achieve more. And so often we sell ourselves on mediocrity. We sell ourselves on, it's okay to not give a full effort. I love the fact, I'm going to pick on another guy here, on Alan. You know how cool it was? Alan, how many homes did you sell last year?
69.
69 homes. So I look at this. When I first met Alan, some of you don't know this, but essentially when I first really met Alan, we were at the Little America when I first, and he says, I work for you. I'm like, whoa, who was this? And how many years ago was that? 2 years ago or 3 years ago?
About 3 years ago.
3 years ago?
I went full-time 2.5 years ago.
Yeah. So I was sitting in with, I think it's your cousin, right? Dinko's your cousin?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting in behind a closed door with Dinko, his cousin, which, obviously knows him. He said, he said, if I had Alan's work ethic, I could make a fortune. He thinks he's better looking than you, just so you know.
I closed more deals.
I know you do. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm just razzing you. But my point is that he was saying, he goes, look, if I had that type of effort, I could make a fortune. The aha I've had in 2017 is, please do not talk yourself out of working hard. Do not talk yourself out of giving the effort that's necessary. Pay the price. See what might happen. It's a statement I've always said, like, what would happen if you left everything out on the court? As mad as I was at Karl Malone for not being able to hit a free throw against the Chicago Bulls, the one thing I know about him, would anybody doubt that he left everything out there to try to win? If you know anything about him, the answer is yes. Maybe you didn't like his philosophy. Maybe you didn't like him talking in first person. Karl Malone don't like that. Karl Malone don't like this. But you know what? You had to at least appreciate his effort. Just saying. So my point is can you be someone like you, like literally leaves everything out there, that when you lay your head down at night, you can sit there and go, man, I gave everything today. And that you feel this contentment, this achievement, this goodness that can be inside of you because you worked hard, instead of rationalizing away why you didn't. Look, like they say, right? You're gonna have pain either way: pain of regret, or the pain of hard work, or the pain of discipline. You're gonna have pain. So embrace work, embrace effort, embrace the uncertainty of knocking a door, embrace the pain of rejection, embrace it, and watch what may happen. One of my favorite books is the book Mastery by George Leonard. And in his book, he talks about embracing these types of pains. Tony Robbins also does a thing on this also. And they talk about the martial art of Aikido. And in so many words, it's just simply this: absorbing and letting things like glance off of you, push through you, right? Blow through you. The pain, the agony, the disrespect, right? Whatever it may be, that you just let it brush off of you. You absorb through it. Instead of standing there stiff like a board and letting yourself get hit, you fall away from it. You allow the absorption of that pain, that hit, that drive. Look, rejection's going to be there. Agony will be there. How you respond to it, how you embrace it, will be the difference between whether you win at extraordinary levels in this business with your work ethic versus maybe you don't so much. Okay? And the fifth, or any thoughts on that? Okay? It's fun to see all you guys here. It's going to be a good year. Here's actually a thought. Just a little market question, by the way. What do you think the market's going to be like this year?
It'll go up.
Okay. Why?
I read the report. It said 7 to 10%. We should see an increase again in prices.
Okay. Okay. What did you say?
No, I just say because Donald Trump said so.
Okay. All right. That could be a case to argue.
She beat me.
Okay. Okay, so let's think about this, gang. So I just want you to think about, I had to remind myself. Sometimes I don't know if this happens to you, right? We talk about the market, we can talk about pricing, we can talk about mortgage programs, we can talk about loans, we can talk about availability of inventory, new construction, existing home sales, sales prices, sales volume, other agents, what my broker did or didn't do, what the other agent did or didn't do, what the seller did or didn't disclose. We can talk about all these things. You know what all of those things have in common? Unemployment. What do all of them have in common? You have no control over any of it. And what I was reminded again last year of in my life was that as I got dialed into what's the market doing, man? What's rates gonna do? What's the market, inventory? Is there enough availability? Is the market gonna go up? Is the market gonna go down? Is there what? And it dawned on me, I'm like, it is irrelevant. Oh, it sounds great to talk about. It sounds really like I know what I'm talking about because I tell people, well, unemployment's the lowest it's ever been. Inventory is this. Days on market that. Agents are doing this. The mortgage programs are doing this. FHA's that. Well, we got to be careful about. It literally has nothing to do with you. It might be something you use as a sales deal, part of your plan of action, part of your pricing strategy. That's fine. But in the end, are you going to dictate your activity today, tomorrow, this year, based on what the interest rates are doing, based on what the inventory is actually doing? The one aha I have had this year is I can't control almost anything except me. I can control what time I wake up. I can control what time I go to the office. I can control how many people I talk to. I can control how many appointments I set. I can control how much skill set I get. I can control the leads I follow up with. I can control the listing package I create, the buyer package I create. I can control so much. But then for some reason, humanity turns on CNN, constant negative news, or Fox, fantasy news, and all the things that people talk about. They talk and oh my gosh, what are we going to do? It will have no bearing unless you let it be. And I still remember the first year in real estate. Boy, he meant well. And, some of you can appreciate this. This is even more the classic. He was my bishop. And he put his arm around me and he said, you could do so much more with your life than be in real estate. I still remember, actually, 2 years later, he lost his entire company. It was a candy store. And not that that matters, but I just thought, as I've realized what real estate really is about, and then he followed up with, and I don't want to put this in your head, but what are you going to do when rates go up? And I'm like, I still remember, so new. What am I going to do? I remember, I'm like, well, maybe I need to do something different. Well, Jen has a solid job. She's a receptionist. That could carry us. I still remember this nonsense that I would be thinking about. All the things of I couldn't control rates and what am I going to do? And will there ever be a home that is sold again if that happens? And I know I'm making fun of it because it is comical because you can control so much, but somehow humanity allows ourselves to remind ourselves to focus on all the things we can't, and somehow we let that be the dictation of our success. Market's crashing. So what? What does that mean? Market's crashing. It's a buyer's market, less agent. And my point is there's a whole different story that you could assemble. Market's crashing, no one's buying. What did even your own government do? They paid you $8,000 to buy a house. What market does that ever happen in? Think about it. People, it's just a reminder. Again, I'm talking about things I can control, and part of my world is different than yours, but still it's the same. I want you to think about this. This organization is built on you controlling your own destiny. It's built on being in a vacuum. It is built on the idea that it does not matter what others are doing. It does not matter what the market is doing. What matters is what do you do? What matters is what can you control. And when you focus on what you can control and what you can do, however you choose to do your business, I'm fine with. But it's your choice. That's the power of what you have. People will always die. People will always get divorced. People will always lose their houses. People will always want to move up. People will always be those first-time home buyers, want to buy their first home. There will be people, believe it or not, who pay off their home and have equity and want to buy another or buy a second home. There will always be people to buy and sell real estate. Your job is to get in the way. To get in the way of all that. So you can get paid. So you can be part of the solution. So some of us have this belief that we can wait for business to happen, wait for the dictation of what the market is, or we can go create business. There are people, I'll leave you with this. There are people who need your leadership. There are people who don't know that they should be buying a home, and they don't know how to buy a home because you haven't showed up and called or talked to them about it. There are people who need to build their future, just like I sat down with people today, who I said, what's your most important goal? And they said, I'm getting up in years and I got a plan for my retirement. It's not new. Those are not new concepts. There are people who need your leadership, who need your empathy, your vision. They need the things I've talked about. That you are this rock, this North Star of their life to help them see what's possible. Because you cast a vision that they can buy a home, prepare them to get into a home, or sell a home, and help them buy another home, whatever it may be. And gang, I'm just here to tell you that you have that power. So you can wait for the market, wait for the lead, wait for the call, or you can go create it. You can create it by buying it. You could. You could buy the business. Or you could just simply, every person today that you could talk to wants to do something in real estate. They either want to buy something, sell something, move up in something, buy a second thing. Just think about what it is that's out there for you. If you're just waiting, the waiting game could be very dangerous. But those who go out and get it, those who go out and talk to people, those who go out and make that difference and change people's lives because of the leader they are, because of the vision they cast, got them to take action and help them build their future, that's what this organization is about. That's who we are. We lead. We lead. We don't wait. We don't go, oh, well, is it really a good time to buy? I mean, rates went up 0.25%. You lost your mind? In 15 years from now, will that even matter? When someone says, well, I don't know if I want to buy an investment property, what if the market goes down? Like tax benefits, someone paying the mortgage driving down, and over time the escalation of value, and you're worried about, well, if it drops 20 grand, what are we going to do? No, if you're flipping it, I get it. Holding it? What are we talking about? Yes, buy it for as cheap as you possibly can. But get in the market. Some of you should be buying a home every year and you're not. It's unacceptable because you should, but you're not even leading yourself towards that. If you would have started doing that just 5 years ago and had 5 properties a day that you bought 5 years ago, every single one of you in here would be what? A millionaire. Every one of you in here, if 5 years ago would have bought 5 properties, you'd be a millionaire. I know there's people in here who have done it, but every one of us would have been. Think about that. Think about what you have as a responsibility of your leadership. So, in summary, just know how grateful I am for you guys. It is awesome to see that you're here. It also is to me, it's a testament to the fact that you want to win at the game of real estate. And for some of you, you're already winning big. Take it to a whole other level, which is exciting. Because there's other levels. And you'll find more about yourself as you cast those visions, as you work hard, as you do the things that you need to do. Don't lose what makes you great. Just as a reminder, I'll close with this. I've said this a lot lately. Success is not deemed success because you have a lot of money and because you did a lot of deals. You were successful way before the money and the deals showed up. It is not new in concept, but I want to remind you that like Earl Nightingale said in his Lead the Field or Strangest Secret, I can't remember which one he said it in, but he simply said, basically give me heat. He's talking about putting the stove in the kitchen. He says, give me heat and I'll put in the wood. And the point is that you have to become successful at what you do. And the byproduct of that success is the money that you will earn. It is not, I have money, and then you get to wave the flag, I'm successful. You were successful. Then the money came, or the deals came. So don't put the cart before the horse. Don't think that you can label yourself as a success just because you earn money. The success is who you've become. And this organization is built on one principle. The question I always like to ask, who do you have to become to earn, and you fill in the blank? Whatever that number is, 250, 150, 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, I don't care. Who do you have to become? And in that journey, you'll find it. Set your goals, be clear on your destinations. In the words of Les Brown, how is none of your business. If your approach is not working to get you the results that you want, change the approach, not the goal. Change the approach, not the goal. And if you're going to change it, it better go up. Not, well, you know, I didn't really work that hard. And what I was doing wasn't really true. No. Change the approach. And then let's achieve our goals. Okay, gang, any thoughts, questions, comments? I'll be here for a little bit if you want to talk, but thank you for being here. So great to see you. Happy New Year, and let's kick butt. What? Oh, yeah, no, I'm doing a hey, thank you. DEXA scan. Hey, DEXA scan. It's called DEXA scan. I'm doing it on tomorrow, 11:30. DEXA scan is it's a scanning device for.
You go somewhere they scan your body.
Yeah. So I'll text you back. Yeah, I can't today, but Friday will probably be best. Okay. What did you say? Yeah, is that what it was? Is that the same thing?
No, it's called body fat. I don't know if it does the same thing.
And it measures body fat, right? Okay, brother. Okay, thanks. Nancy, how you doing? Good.
Measures body fat, measures your, the mass in your body. The fat and the muscle.
Okay. Yes. Hey, how are you? I'm good. Happy New Year. Yeah, great to see you. Center stage right there. Boom. Good to see you. Gosh. Yeah, then you. Hey, wait, Danette, have you guys personally met?
Hi, I'm Jen.
This is Jen Mascara.
Hi. It's nice to meet you too. So I need you. So I know I need to figure out my schedule as well as sit down with you because I have filters that I'm moving over. I have it's crazy. So it'll be awesome. Okay, so yeah, I know it's thank you so much.
It's not official, but we're close.
Yeah. So no, and
What's happening? It's just more so.
I have a team picture. It's happening. Yeah. If he doesn't take
Part of it is
part
of it is the space that we're in is for her to have a space to work at. She's leaving where she's at. And we're talking about changing and turning things over at this point, but the thing is that we can start changing the office. Do we know our actual deadline? What?
Do you really need a desk? I might just move up there and start.
I understand why we're not just letting you have what we have up there. We gotta consider that.
If you could just get him out of my way, then I can.
That's right.
That's it.
Okay.
So we're good with that. My